Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Caravaggio, The Palette and the Sword, Book 1 by Milo Manara, put out by Fantagraphics. Always hesitant to buy a Milo Manara book because they're often too perverse and rapey for me, even though I love his art. But I took a gamble on this one because it's historical, and woo, did that pay off. Right out the gate, you see that Manara is firing on all guns. This is a master, truly, really leveraging every skill he has. Obviously is a huge fan of Caravaggio and taking this project very seriously. But right out the gate, I mean, come on, that's European comics at its best right there. People who can illustrate their ass off and do comics. So the story basically starts with people traveling to Rome, and Caravaggio's going with them. He wants to be a great painter, so he's going to Rome to study with the great painters. Again, you can see the artwork here. This is just European comics at its best. These amazingly detailed, researched, painted historical comics. Caravaggio gets introduced to the studio Cavaliere di Arpino, who's going to be like his maestro for a while. You see that Manara takes advantage of this to draw a bunch of naked ladies, but he's holding himself back from his normal. There's some where he's got girls bent over getting spanked and stuff, but this is nowhere near pornographic as a normal Manara book. He still has very kind of modern, thin idea of females. he has one way, he has a preference of how his women's bodies should look. But it's basically showing Caravaggio in the studio, also showing him staying late at night painting and becoming a master on his own. The suggestion is he's pretty much already better than everyone there, but needs to work his way up in the ranks. There's a fun scene here where Caravaggio, who's known to hang out with the Gentileschi, is here, and Gentileschi, they're going to see a public beheading, and Gentileschi's got his daughter Artemis. So if you know Artemis Gentileschi and her story, that's an interesting. She's definitely someone in the Caravaggio lane of painting who's become quite famous, and it's extra funny because they're relating it to the Judith and Holofernes painting, which Artemisia did arguably a better one than Caravaggio. Compositionally at least, if not technique-wise. So showing that painting here, it's fun to see Manara doing his versions of those paintings, but they also have like the painting tipped in, and then you have Manara's version. So pretty cool to just suggest that they may have seen a beheading and that inspired his and was a memory of hers. I'm sure there's a lot of artistic license being taken in here. Here we meet Peter Paul Rubens, another extremely famous painter. He's come in because Caravaggio has painted this painting, which the church wants to get rid of, and Rubens is saying, no, it's too good of a painting, like take it, I'll take it and I'll hide it so no one can see it. I'd never heard about that painting, so it's cool. I went and looked that up, which is always fun with these historical books. And then we end with the famous Caravaggio's fighter and a murderer, so basically setting up the drama for the next story. Caravaggio is a perfect person to pick because he lived a pretty rowdy life. There's a lot of prostitutes and fighting and murder and stuff, so it makes for an exciting, compelling book. But you can see all the way throughout the art is ridiculously nice, obviously inspired. And then in the back here you get basically reprints of all of the paintings that are in the book, so that you can come and look at them afterwards and see them. I won't say in their full glory because Caravaggio is someone, like this right here, it just goes to black. But if you see that in person, it has a depth to it that's not suggested by printed page because of what he does with glazes. But pretty good representations of his paintings here that give you a sense of what the images throughout the book should look like if you saw them in person. So a really, really cool book, not just because Manara's doing such great work, but because it has this historical value to it with all the artwork. It's kind of like getting a little Caravaggio a really nicely printed Caravaggio catalog, plus this awesome story. So really, really enjoyed this. I know Volume 2 is coming out soon, and I really look forward to that. If I find anything different in that other than this, then maybe I'll do a video about that one as well. But either way, you should definitely go out and get this. If it's probably the only Milo Manara books I'll ever own, and I would suggest if you're someone who's hesitant about Manara, for the same reasons I am, you should make this the one Manara book you own, because it's quite lovely. The Eisner nominated The Strange Death of Alex Raymond by Dave Sim and myself. This is a gorgeously illustrated and designed book. Dave doing most of the illustration. Amazing compositions throughout. What Dave is doing is he's recording his obsession with the death of master cartoonist Alex Raymond behind the wheel of Stan Drake's car when they got into a car crash. The best description of the book that I've heard is that it's like understanding comics with pages like this, mixed with something like From Hell, when you get into the theories about what actually happened with the car crash. And then with Sean on production, it's just one of the most gorgeously printed books you could get a hold of.